Israel's military widens its ground offensive in Gaza. Scores of casualties have been reported in the north and south of the territory after relentless bombardments.
France remains on its highest national security alert as authorities say they're treating this weekend's deadly knife attack in Paris as a terror plot.
Addressing COP28 in Dubai, Pope Francis urges world leaders and all religions to tackle climate change together.
Ukraine reports at least 2 deaths and several injured following Russian shelling of the Kherson region, while families call for relief for exhausted Ukrainian soldiers.
Europe's far-right leaders gather in Florence for a conference in preparation for EU parliamentary elections in June.
Indiscriminate artillery shelling in Gaza as Israel's ground offensive expands to every part of the Palestinian enclave. Israel's military says it has ordered more evacuations in the crowded south, while vowing that its operations against the Hamas militant group will be no less devastating than those in the north. Palestinian health authorities say hundreds of people have died since Israel resumed its assault on Friday. Gazans say they are running out of places to go in the sealed-off territory. Many of Gaza's 2.3 million residents relocated south after Israel issued orders to leave the north in the early days of the war. The United Nations has warned that hospitals in Gaza are overwhelmed, while shelters are seeing a significant increase in infectious diseases. Israel is under pressure from the international community to protect civilians. Its military says its fighter jets and helicopters struck Hamas targets, including tunnel shaft command centres and weapons storage facilities. It claims to have killed the commander of the Hamas Shati battalion in an airstrike on Sunday.
Floral tributes have been placed in the scene of the deadly knife and hammer attack that took place on Saturday night near Paris's Eiffel Tower. French authorities are treating the incident as a terror plot. The suspect, who it's now been revealed had previously been convicted of planning an attack, had pledged allegiance to the so-called Islamic State in a pre-recorded video.
L'information judiciaire qui avait été alors ouverte à son encontre avait permis de démontrer qu'il était issu d'une famille sans aucun engagement religieux et qu'il s'était converti à l'islam à l'âge de 18 ans en 2015 et qu'il avait très rapidement versé dans l'idéologie djihadiste.
French ministers held an extraordinary meeting with Prime Minister Elisabeth Borne on Sunday. A German man died and 2 others, a British man and a French national, were injured in the attack. Writing on X, French President Emmanuel Macron, who's at the COP28 summit in Dubai, sent his thoughts to all those affected by what he called the terrorist attack. Police are maintaining high visibility in the capital. The attack comes less than 2 months after a teacher was killed in a knife attack at a high school in the northern city of Arras, prompting the French government to put the country on its highest level of national security alert.
Dubai was under a brown haze of dust and pollution on Sunday, and the Pope, who's 87, was advised not to go there as he's suffering from bronchitis and being treated with intravenous antibiotics. Instead, Francis addressed the UN climate talks by video and urged both the world's leaders and the world's religions to act together to stop climate change and bring about world peace.
Hoy el mundo tiene necesidad de alianzas que no sean contra alguien, sino a favor de todos. Y es urgente que las religiones, sin caer en la trampa del sincretismo, den el buen ejemplo, trabajando juntas, no por los propios intereses o los de una parte, sino por los intereses de nuestro mundo.
The issue up for debate on Sunday was how climate change is making both the planet and its people sick. Health experts urged world leaders to do more to prevent 7 million deaths a year from both air pollution and diseases such as cholera and malaria.
Ukrainian authorities say at least 2 people were killed and 4 others injured in Russian shelling in the Kherson area on Sunday. This comes as Kyiv announced its aid defenses downed 10 Russian drones on the same day. In the west of the country, close to 1,000 towns and villages are said to have suffered power outages as the region is battered by wintry weather. As the defensive battle against Russia enters its second winter, families of soldiers have been rallying their support. Some called for the return of captive troops, while others questioned how much longer the exhausted soldiers could endure the daily battle. Many of the relatives are calling for fixed terms at the front and abolishing open-ended military service. Meanwhile, the Russian Ministry of Defense has released more footage of its troops on the front lines. Kyiv is investigating allegations that Russian forces shot surrendering Ukrainian soldiers. A video is circulating of the incident. The killing of prisoners of war is considered a violation of the Geneva Conventions and is classified as a serious international war crime.
Ukraine expects another winter of war with attacks against its energy infrastructure, Ukraine's foreign minister has told Euronews. Dmytro Kuleba also promoted Ukraine's peace plan that Russia has rejected.
I would recommend supporting peace formula proposed by Ukraine as a path towards ending the war. And second, focusing on specific problem created by the war and trying to solve it in relations with Russia.
In 2 weeks' time, the EU Council in Brussels will decide whether accession talks should begin with Ukraine and Moldova, which Kuleba strongly supports.
We both, Ukraine and Serbia, belong with Europe. We are both European nations. We have our national interests, but we are all Europeans. So it's about strategy. It's about expanding European rules, European principles, European way of life to its historical space.
Ukraine hopes to join the EU at the same time as the Western Balkan states that are candidate countries for entry. But accession talks for those states have stalled in recent years.
We urge the European Union not to repeat the mistake by protracting accession process for all countries, not only for Ukraine, but also for all countries, candidate countries, including, of course, Western Balkans. It will be fair to say that it was Ukraine who took the European Union out of its enlargement coma. And if we look back at 2 years ago, there was no serious discussion inside of the European Union about enlargement. And accession talks with Western Balkans were put on hold.
Are these weapons delivered to Ukraine in a pace that you...
Matteo Salvini, who's Italy's deputy prime minister, hosted a rally in Florence on Sunday for Europe's far-right leaders. They came from Bulgaria, Belgium, Austria, Czech Republic and the Netherlands, where the far-right won the most seats in the recent parliamentary elections.
Oggi presentiamo agli italiani e a tutti gli europei un'idea di Europa diversa, l'Europa dei diritti contro l'Europa dei tagli.
Marine Le Pen, the former president of France's National Rally Group, opened the convention, saying, "We are movements of democratic and patriotic resistance in the face of a bureaucratic dominant structure." Dutch far-right leader Geert Wilders, who leads the Freedom Party in the Netherlands, also sent a video message saying, "We must guarantee that decisions that concern our nations are made by people who know it and love it best." Nearby, there was a small group of demonstrators who waved EU flags to denounce the far right in Europe.
These scenes in Dublin last week after the stabbing of 3 young children and an adult female shocked right-thinking people in Ireland. The angry protests revealed that far-right thinking is taking hold in Ireland.
The far-right is a very small movement in Ireland. However, they are feeding into concerns about the immigration system in Ireland, the impact that large numbers of migrants are having on Irish society, which is putting stresses on the housing sector, sort of capitalising on this issue.
The central issue in this upsurge in discontent towards the Irish state is immigration. The population of Ireland has risen from 3.9 million in 2002 to just over 5 million currently. 1 in 5 Irish residents since 1998 were foreign-born, and with 13,000 now declared homeless, many are saying enough is enough. The Irish Freedom Party has no elected representatives, but its leader says a change in immigration policy in Ireland is long overdue.
I believe the government's system of reckless open borders, allowing a large number of unvetted males of unknown origin into the country, has led to an increase, as it has in all countries, be it Sweden, France and Germany, an increase in violence and sexual assault.
With almost full employment and a thriving economy in Ireland, rising rents in Dublin are making it difficult for many to afford a house. However, the employers' body IBEC says immigrants are needed, otherwise certain sectors of the economy will collapse.
We don't think society or the economy could keep going without the immigrant population. It's not a homogenous group. We see a lot of immigrants from Europe who predominantly come to work.
The rioting scene here in Dublin last week has turned out to be a major wake-up call for the Irish government. The Irish police are to change tactics. The Irish public are angry that the far right appears to have taken hold. If the Irish government doesn't adequately address the issues around mass immigration, what happened here on this very street last week could happen again in the not too distant future. This is Ken Murray for Euronews in Dublin.